This is a Situation Room on Spice FM, broadcasting from Nairobi 94.4. We're in Mombasa 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 in Nakuru, Eldoret 96.7, Nyeri 90.9, and Malindi we're on 97.7. We live stream this show every morning on www.spicefm.co.ke. We're also on social media handles. If you go to Facebook, you'll watch us on Spice FM KE. You can also watch us on YouTube on Spice FM KE, as well as Facebook, Spice FM KE, and Twitter, Spice FM KE. So let's talk about education this morning, okay? And also talk about youth. Yesterday, we had a great lengthy conversation on the place of youth in governance in this country. And we had some guest hosts in the show, and we were discussing what the youth are doing. And we even mentioned that the president recently appointed a number of youthful persons into his government to a high position, a position of assistant minister, a chief administrative secretary. One of them is now joining us in the studio this morning. His name is Zack Kinuthia. He's the CAS in the Ministry of Education. Good morning, Zack.
Good morning, Eric.
Good to see you. Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you very much. And good morning to Ndu and City.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Zack, CAS is assistant minister, isn't it?
Well, in the old structure, that is where it would fit in terms of hierarchy in government. But as you know, there's no such position in the Constitution in terms of designation, but that is where it would fit.
But in terms of function?
It has its place in Article 131 as structured by the Public Service Commission through the advice of the Commission to His Excellency the President.
Which means you are an assistant minister.
We are assistant ministers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Great.
Now the ground has been set.
So what do you do? What's your 8 to 5 like? Okay. Does it end at 5 or does it end at
Well, good question. Good thing and bad thing is that now it is not yet 8, so I'm still working. And I'll still be working after 5.
Yeah.
Our work to the service, our work is a service to the people. And it has no timeline, especially at the level in government where we are, because we can't be restricted to serving people by the timelines as set by the clock. So you will find us working anytime, out of town, in town, out of the country, within the country, as duty calls. Yes.
Okay, today is World Youth Skills Day. It's the 15th day of July. It's a World Youth Skills Day. We have a youthful person who's here. And, talking about the skills that are there in the government. What is it that you've brought to this government?
Thank you. First of all, I want to answer a question I haven't answered by asking,
What do you do? Yes.
First of all, our constitutional mandate is counsel to the president and the cabinet secretary, where we are. I should be advising 2 people, the cabinet secretary and the president. That is what I should do every single day on what is good for government and for the people. That one involves a lot of, I had CT introduced as a researcher, and that one excites me because there cannot be good governance without good data and good research undertaken by institutions that are mandated to do so. And therefore, we work closely with such institutions to be able to give the president and the CS the very best advice, including the one we gave recently of closing down basic institutions.
So that was you.
That is us. And trying to open up the tertiary institutions, although people have different views about whether should we have closed down or that's not the ambit of our discussion this morning. Let me begin by saying what we have brought in government. First of all, we have brought the age. I had you introduce my person. So we brought the youth in government. I am a youth by all means in terms of constitutional age of youth and also the mind. And by the way, political youthfulness in Africa is different from what we know as a youth. Because when I was in the university, I remember our teacher-in-law would tell us that the presidential age in Africa is 60. That's a youthful man. That's a man who can now lead people.
Yep.
And we did an average of Mahatma Mohammed, who is the Prime Minister of Malaysia, and the youngest one, who was by that time Madagascar president, who was 39. So the average was around 60. Yeah. So 91 and 39, somewhere around there. So I'm excited to be here this morning. Our work in government basically has been, first of all, there has been a huge outcry against the president's first term and part of his second term, that positions of influence were going to very old people, and they were named. I'm not going to do it here. And there was a lot of backlash against his government that surely we have to get white hair for us to be recognized as people who can bring influence. And I remember a lot of outcry. But then one morning, the president wakes up 14th of January 2020, and you know what? He names a couple of young people. I think we were 6 who are under 30, who are under 40. Let me say under 40. Maybe under 35 would be 3 or 2. Myself and the CAS for ICT and one more. I think under 35 would be 3. Then under 40 were 6 who were brought straight to government to offer the youthfulness, the mind, the passion, the commitment. And above all, let me tell you, young people felt that at least they can see their face in the table of influence. And I could say it has borne fruit. It is still a long struggle for young people to feel totally included in leadership in this country, because as you know, they are 70%, and they would want to be holding key and critical sectors of economy. But as the academician would tell us here, some of these jobs would require experience and total learning of the systems and how they work.
How do you get this experience?
We are now getting where we are. Actually, the president, if you remember in our appointment, he said he's bringing us now to learn so that we are actually, he called us trainee ministers. We are here to learn more. And that's why we are sandwiched between the principal secretaries and the cabinet secretaries. Because you're supposed now to synergize the two and know how governments are run. And that is exactly what we are doing. I see young people trying to join boards of management and state agencies as senior director. And now that I used to agitate for the same, but now that I'm in, I can see it would be disastrous to place a younger person who has no experience in terms of government in such positions. And that is why the president, in his wisdom, crafted the internship program, which is now placing over 12,000 young people in interns, as interns in government, various government parastatus, all the way from State House to the very small state agencies.
So you can see how that would work, Zack.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, but there are lots of youth who are maybe on the periphery who are saying, well, even if we get into this management trainee program, as it were, that our job would be to fetch tea and to, run a letter from one office to another. That would be... And what we are trying to do is learn. So if that would happen at government level, is that necessarily a bad thing? Or is it still, at least you're in the door, then being able to learn? How would you now be able to describe that situation?
First of all, Ndu, I would want to say young people have all the reasons to agitate. And nobody should block their thinking in expressing their pain, their wishes, and sometimes their fancies, I would say. I remember the front runner for presidency in 2016 in America, the lady Clinton, was serving tea in 1969 to the Democratic Committee, National Democratic Committee. Yeah, and she said that she had left university and she volunteered in the party, and the best she got was to serve tea and
she
to
took it.
move, and she accepted because through it there are things you hear, these men discussing, these ladies discussing in the table of power. Then over time they tell you move this file and there. Then the following day you're told read through the file and tell us if you think it could reflect the thinking of young people out there. So over time I would say perhaps something must begin somewhere. Young people must begin somewhere, because if you have not, something is always better than nothing. We say, I had City mention a proverb in was it Masai, that night has ears. For us where I come from, we say night has legs. Yeah, that's what people say in my language, and both are very deep wisdoms.
Yes,
we say something is always better than nothing.
Right.
If you're at the periphery, as you say, and you want to zero in at the epicenter where things are run, it has to begin somewhere. And if that means you're pushing files, you are taking files from point A to another point, regardless of your qualification and competence. Because youth have power, youth has energy, youth has intellect, especially in our time, because we have gone to school and accepted learning. Yet we are not at the center. It has to begin somewhere. And this is why I think these interns who are placed in government, parastatus, we call them SAGAs, semi-autonomous government agencies, just be there. And for those who are determined to get at the center, this one is somewhere to begin. Okay. Nobody will come from behind and just jump you and get at the center.
And give you the crown immediately.
No, it is not. It is not given. It is taken over time. I encourage young people. I remember I was training them at Kasarani. Then I was not in government, but I was passionate enough to go and tell them how to manage themselves, because I could not tell them about government. I wasn't in. And I asked them to at least maintain their reputation and be humble enough to learn, so that, tomorrow we say they are the next set of leadership. Wherever you are, whether that is a CEO whom you are placed under or a director of a department, that is where you begin and get in. So I encourage them. I have seen the Public Service Commission is also bringing 5,000 more. Let them come, as many as are possible to come. In our time, at least, there were no such opportunities. When we left universities, the government was not offering internship opportunities. And they are paid. Let me tell you, Ndu and Eric City, if you are paid as a young person who has no responsibilities of family, because these are very young people who left college, and you are paid 25,000, it should be something to begin with. 25,000, it's not a lot of money for us, at least here, when we think about it. But for a person who has nothing to show except academic certificate, university academic certificate.
No experience.
Yep.
And
no work experience.
At all.
That is something to show.
And they are doing 18 months. After 18 months, today, we are grappling with aging workforce in government.
Right.
So these are the people I tell them, if you are grappling with the aging workforce, and by December, more than 26,000 people will be retiring in government. So where are you going to get these young people? We are the people.
There's a pool.
Let us learn and hope that we can be. Don't say, then we'll be dropped, because that's what many young people say. We'll be dropped after 18 months, so what? Where are we going? Just grab it and move on. Who knows? Even for us, we don't know where we'll be tomorrow. Nobody
take
knows
your opportunity
where
right now,
will be.
basically, and
They
run
should,
with it. Right?
Exactly. They should take it.
Let's talk about what I see that you're focusing on a lot in today, World Youth Skills Day. You're talking about a lot of TVET and looking at the expansion of TVET as a side of education.
Yes.
How is that going in terms of the uptake of TVET by the youth specifically?
Yes.
Remember, the mindset is go to primary, go to a good secondary school, go to university,
Exactly.
get a degree.
I want to pick it from there and tell you that was the greatest tragedy that happened over the last 10 years from 2003 to 2013, because there was an overemphasis on degrees. I remember, and that is the same time we were finishing also primary schools and secondary school, many young people were dying to go to universities because they were said, without a degree, you are a fool.
Yep.
Without a degree, you are not hot. The language of young people. So get it. When the president, former president, His Excellency Mwai Kibaki, opened up and liberalized education by introducing parallel programs in the university and paying primary schools, then there was that upsurge again for people who could previously not afford education, got into primary. And that lot now, the lot that Kibaki offered free primary education is the lot that is now in the university. These people and us who had come before, we could not breathe until we got to the university. And I tell you, the first time I heard the word university, I was in class 3. And I had it with my class teacher. I thought university was a city. Somewhere after school, I would go live happily.
You live in uni.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was a city. A city on its own. There you say, I'm going to London, going to Nairobi.
I'm going to university.
Yes.
So the language is work hard so that you can go to university.
Yes, and it was good because you want to live out of the shackles of poverty.
Yeah.
You want to at least entangle yourself from the village life that doesn't promise and offer anything. That one was indoctrinated in us. And everybody now started thinking there is no life without university. That is why they started mushrooming everywhere.
Yep.
Every community started demanding their form of a college, which is a university.
Yep.
If you check, almost every major tribe in Kenya agitated and pushed for a charter to open a university. And they would have delegations to president saying, we want our own university. Everybody started claiming it. Let me not mention them. But even my people in Mount Kenya, almost now again, every sub-clan of tribe started asking for university. Every tribe, everywhere you go, people started converting the previous technical training institute and polytechnics into universities. the mad rush, because I call it so, the mad rush disinherited our young people because they cannot train for a skill.
So
Everybody want now to go to university.
So Zach, I mean, it's some things are very clear now
Yes.
to us that the clamor for university education then may have lost its merit along the line.
Yes.
What's now the option?
The option is what Eric insinuated before. The future, I would call it, today and the future now, is the skilling of the young people, which is happening in Technical Training Institute. The reason the clamor was lodged for university, as you have rightly mentioned, is because after university, everybody now people got into university, colleges were opened, young people flooded there. Parallel program, people sold land, sold cattle, people started fundraising, got money and got into university. So as many as young people, out of 10, 6 at least would go to the university. Now, after university, what?
But do you know why that clamor was actually justified? I belong to that age where the one university in the country started diversifying. They moved the Faculty of Education from the University of Nairobi to Kenyatta. It started. But it was one university in the entire country. You had a letter of employment before you even finished your last paper in the university. You knew where you were going and you knew.
Companies would table their bureaus out.
They would start, even when you're in Form 4, they would choose you. The tea industry did that. The banking industry did that in Form 6. Jobs used to look for people, not the other way around. Now, when somebody was in university, the chances were even greater. So, remember, we even had an examination called KJSC, Kenya Junior, Form 2. At Form 2, you could fit in. Now, all these TVETs that we speak of were not only functional, but people were absorbed into these TVETs. So you find people joining Kenya Railway, they're joining all these other government parastatals. But as I said, jobs came a-begging. So there was a great need for people to go to university because they could see. And how do you measure it? So-and-so son went to university, has built a corrugated iron sheet house for the parents. Give him a few years. So-and-so son who went to university is driving a car. So people saw, no, this university there was evidence that this university was a good thing.
So I want to agree with him that the clamor was justified for that season. But as you know, season changes.
They change. And they change rapidly.
Because today, if you say that jobs are looking for young people, you just need to say you have a job that you are paying 50,000 and you want 10 young people and put it in paper.
You'll get 1 million applications.
Then you'll see the best. You see the pandemonium in your compound.
So we have very many, and this is where also the government now comes in as well. So we have very many skilled people, educated people. They have degrees. We have now many people who are going through TVETs and they're coming out with their skill. The job opportunities as well. I see, for example, the UK government has now said that Kenyans who do not have university degrees but have an opportunity,
but
have
a
skill.
Yes.
Can go and work and live in the UK. And when I saw that, this is an opportunity for the government to actually secure positions for Kenyans. Because one thing that we do have in this country is skilled labor. If we can find ways of exporting this skilled labor, then that would help. I got, for example, some comments from somebody who was saying the Riyadh Metro in Saudi Arabia, when it was just being done just the other day, the people who are recruiting even came to Kenya and they said, we are looking for people who are skilled and you can come and work in Saudi Arabia, in Riyadh, and there's a job opportunity.
With a full work permit.
Full work permit.
And paid ticket.
And work. And paid ticket. What happened? Very many people applied, very many people were interviewed, very many people got the opportunities. Now it came to the issue of facilitating their travel. Passport. They did not go. Why? Delays at passport. Government's role in ensuring that this skilled labor can then find places.
But by the way, I will answer that and then get into the real matter of opportunities in skills. Why the world is going TVET way. Today, the president has been very harsh on immigration people so that they can electronize the way we get our passport. Today, you don't need to go to Nyeri House, the infamous Nyeri House. You don't have to go there. You just put your online application. Within some time, you get communication. You only need to go there to pick your passport. For those people who are going out, I remember there was a plan.
And pick.
You just go, you get an alert, come and pick your passport, is ready, then you can do what you want. And I think it's within 14 or 30 days. Today, actually, it's 14 days. Today, that program of people who get jobs on a short notice out there, the president provided an opportunity for them to get passports at the port of entry. So that you are going specifically for some work and it is identified, every due diligence is done, you just need this paper to go. Just get into your plane and go. At the port of entry, through our high commission offices or through our ambassador, our embassies, get what you need to go and work. Let us formalize paper later, which is not how governments operate. But for the president's urge to see that young people are not blaming government for their facilitation, he has gone out of hand in many things, and I would enumerate them, just to ensure that young people are not hindered by this juggernaut called government that seems to be slow, and many things.
Okay.
So that one happens that way. Can I now get into the skilling of young people, especially now that today is their World Skills Day? First of all, to skill our young people, it was decided in our re-election manifesto, we would need as many technical institutes, national polytechnics, and village polytechnics, the one we used to call poly. Today we call them vocational education centers.
Yep. Okay. We have in the studio Zack Kinuthia. He is a Chief Administrative Secretary in the Ministry of Education. Young man, very energetic, very opinionated, and is bringing that skill into government. Yesterday we were talking about bringing skill into government, the skill of youth into government. Is here today's World Youth Skills Day. We are talking about that. Also, we are looking at education. We will not avoid discussing what has happened in terms of school and education and children staying at home for so many months.
When the president was promising young people that he would transform their lives in 2013, all the way to when he was being re-elected in 2017, the cry from the young people is singular. From Mombasa to Mandera, from Mount Kenya to Eastern, that Mr. President, give us jobs. Mr. President, give us money. We want money in our pocket. And that one was not as easy as we thought until we got into office, at least for him, because he's been there earlier. We realized that no government under the sun can employ all its elites. No government, even in America, doesn't employ its all people. UK, name them, even Scandinavia. But the government's major role is to facilitate the growth of young people, whether that is in business, in art, in music, in farming, in whatever business they engage in. The government facilitate themselves, facilitate them to make them, earn and be comfortable. And how is that possible for a surging population of young people that has no skill? Then it became a nightmare. The president, through his wisdom again, realized that for him to open young people's opportunity in a budding economy, which is now, as you know, becoming a middle-level income, we had to skill young people fast. So that, as you mentioned earlier, as he does his shuttle diplomacy, remember he's an ambassador, global youth ambassador, is now. Our president is a global youth ambassador. He continues opening opportunities to countries, albeit covertly, so that we can get jobs out there.
So you're saying there is an agenda from the government perspective to be youth inclusive, young people inclusive. Is that the case? Because
and it is deliberate.
It's deliberate, but on the outside of it, many youth feel disenfranchised.
Yes,
so they feel that it actually is not the agenda. How do you reconcile the two?
That is what I said, and they have all the reasons to feel so until at such a point when we realize they are ignorant. And that is why we are coming to debunk the ignorance by saying this is what we have done. I see when I was in Voi last week, and I meet people and say, are you sure? Is the government doing that for us? Why don't we know? I say, ignorance is not a defense.
But when
also, I'm speaking as a young person.
Also, lack of communication is not a defense.
Well, from our side.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. That one also need to be sorted, and there's a task force that is handling that. How to have effective communication from government on what is being done, including the opening of the country and many things. But coming home on these skills, I'll tell you something that I keep saying everywhere I go, and young people are just looking at me and saying we did not know. How come we don't know? And again, as you said, the communication. I tell them, in the plan which is grand of skilling every youth who has an interest, the president has 3 things. And this is what I would think is very important this morning for me to say on radio. The first thing, coming at the backdrop that the president wants to skill every young person who wish to be skilled, is creation of technical training institutes in every constituency. That is the plan from 2017 re-election agenda. 290 constituencies will have 290 technical training institute for themselves. Every constituency will have one.
How many do we have currently?
And today, I'll give you the number that we have. Is it now today, 15th of
This is
July?
290 new.
290, new, completely new.
Irrespective of what they had existing.
Yes, new. Or if they are good that existed but ran down, upgrade them and put equipments in them.
We have 2
Let me
years
tell
to
you.
go. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but we have. I'll tell you the number. You'll be surprised. We are not talking about we want 290. That was 2017. This is the language of 2017.
Okay.
We must have 290 by 2022.
Okay.
Out of these 290, each must be equipped with the high-tech machines, and those machines are already here. Those that have been skilled, rather equipped. Let me put the numbers today. We have 187 operational, equipped and staffed with young people and trainers today, scattered across the country. Of the remaining 103, 67 are supposed to be commissioned before the end of this year. And commissioning means go and give them a letter of operation. By the way, all the machines, these high-tech machines, have been put into those 67 because it is a matter of, cracks, contractor is get out of sight, just let have students come in. Many of them would have admitted students in September.
What is machines?
High-tech machines. It means, it depends on what every technical training has been targeted for. If there is automotive, we are giving them high-tech machines for automotive training.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Are you mirroring this training with the needs and the demands that we have in the country?
Yes, exactly. Before, people were training automotive with a carburetor machine. An engine of carburetor, you're training young people to do automotive engineering, or rather mechanic, using a carburetor. That is not the need of the market, as he's asking. We have brought machines that reflect industrial linkage knowledge. What does the industry require? They are the one actually who gave us the concept. They say if you want us to employ young people after they have come, or if you want them to feel relevant in the job market, train them on this catalog, get these machines and put them in their technical training, and bring out the trainers to get this kind of knowledge, so that when they come to us, they are ready to take off. If you say you are a trained hotelier, do you know the knowledge of hospitality? And how is it evolving over time? Because this is some of the things that keep getting out.
What is truly tragic is that the polytechnics used to do precisely that before they were allowed to be run down, or before they were converted into universities.
Yes.
Had they even been converted into just purely technical universities, where the emphasis, this problem wouldn't be what we are saying it is. But somehow we seem to have preferred to actually sacrifice. Well, we took prestige and put it before pragmatism.
Yep.
Exactly. And the pragmatism is the reality of our time.
Yes.
We can't grow an economy.
This is what we are seeing now.
Yeah, we can't grow.
I think going back to
so
the
let me
question-
finish. Let me just finish there and say the 67 by the end of this year will be fully operational. That one is 187, 63. It's about 240 something. The remaining 40 or 30 have unique problems because they have picked up, but there seems to be problems with the communities, because we wanted to team up with the communities so that we can train their young people, their children, on what is relevant first in their area.
What is the problem in the community?
Because some say our clan cannot give out this land for building a TTI. Then we say land belongs to county government. And when county governments start, by the way, this country has serious issues of politics and clan in other areas. The more you get out of Nairobi, in other areas, there's a problem. So that even if you build it, they will say their children cannot come there because they are never consulted. These are problems we are sorting.
In schools, even in the clinics.
Yeah, hospitals, exactly. Hospital facilities.
So basically,
but we are sorting
accessing
it.
land to build this is an issue.
No, we have land.
Okay.
But we are saying, because land, again, is held in the custody of county governments, interest of the people, we had identified these things before. That was actually in 2016 when the mapping was being done. And the issues have been solved one by one. We solved others in Kilifi last week. We are going to solve others in Wajir next week. I'm going there. So that we have issues to agree. This is our future. It's the future of our children. Let's stop who is which clan and the ABCD. put our children into this institution, let them go out there and become competitive because the world is opening up.
So
If
one
it
of
is
the
about
three,
ICT,
one of the three things that Zack was saying, the president was saying, is that have the 290 technical
Yes.
training.
Yes.
Second,
and equip them. That is
And
one.
equip them.
The second one is that accessing technical education, that is skilling, is very expensive. When the president came in, it was an average of 105,000 every year. But that money is too much. Even a student at the university pays cheaper. I mean, it's hugely subsidized through capitation program. So he formed a quick committee that rationalized the amount of money that a student should pay every year. And the amount that was agreed on was 56,400 shillings. But then he asked them, I would say us if I was there, but them, this 56,000 is not Ajo. What did you say? Pinky Ponky when I came in. I heard you mention, and I think I love that one. He said it's not possible. Many families cannot raise 56,000 shillings to take their children a year. So what he did, he tasked the treasury to put automatic capitation of 30,000 shillings for every student joining TVET. 30 out of 56. That one brought a difference of 26,000. Then he said, even 26,000 folks, it's not easy for families to get it because I want to reach the most marginalized youth in this country. So he said, do you have solutions of what you can do? Then they said, no, Mr. President, unless you tell us. So what he did, he called Higher Education Loans Board. And for the first time, as Mwalimu here would confirm, HELB was largely for higher education, universities. But he said, every student joining technical university entitled to 30,000 capitation must get a concessional loan of 40,000.
okay.
So everybody now going to these colleges have 30,000 paid. Difference is 26, then 40,000 paid in terms of loan. So that after you start earning, pay. This 40,000 will pay 26,400, and then you will have 13,500, 600 or whatever it is. That one is supposed to pay in case that TVET has no boarding facilities. It's supposed to somehow find a place for you around.
It's to cater for your other needs.
Other needs, including clothes and food. By the way, this one has spurred growth of villages, and people are building homes. Small homes, even if they are mabati, whatever it is, to accommodate
As
these
dormitories
students
and hostels.
Yeah, to hostels.
Number 3.
The third thing that the president has done is to bring in highly trained trainers, just to call them.
Where from?
From us, trained by the people who delivered these machines, because some are very complex to operate. They were trained by Chinese people who brought us some of these very best machines through the Avic International Company. They were trained for a month to go and train others. And I can tell you today, there are colleges whose machines have not been operational because the skill required to run them again is too high. And some of these teachers, others died, others left. So the government is now reinvigorating as early as 2 months ago, except for this COVID thing, as things have slowed down, to put more teachers under this training. And they have been brought here. Come and train. You are the people who supplied the machine. Train our young people. Pass this knowledge so that now, by the end of 4, 5, even 6 years, as many trainers as possible are able to operate this complex machine. So those are the 3 things that the president has said. If I can build them schools, if I can pay their school fees, because it is largely free. If I say it is free, I am not wrong, because I have enumerated how free it is. And thirdly, I can give them highly trained, skilled teacher. What does the president want? The question as you asked, what if now, as we said, let's go to university is the way, let's go there. Everybody went and there was no jobs. It was flooded. Now people are asking me, what about this kid you are saying? Let us all go TVET. What about the day we will all be skilled by different skills and jobs will not be available? This is the answer. You mentioned that the UK has intentions to admit Kenyans in their country who are highly skilled without degree, which was not the norm, so that they can offer their skills to that country. Remember Brexit and post-COVID UK, things that will be happening across the world. This is the plan. The president wants as many people as possible trained and flooded. Why? Because he's doing his diplomacy by asking the government of Germany, the government of China, the government of Canada, and our African counterparts to accept, now that Africa is the youngest age in terms of labor. We are the youngest. America is at 34, Britain is at 36, China is at 33, You know, if you go to Australia, it's 37. Other countries like Scandinavia is 37. That is the average labor age.
Those are countries that have aging populations.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
So to find somebody who can do your manual job there, an average person
So
will
there's
be
a
that
plan
5,
by
that
the
6.
government to
have as many
export our
people.
labor.
Export labor and
that
human
is what
resources.
we want. Not to export. We would say, because if you say export, then we will have first to be sufficient. We are saying if our young people would get opportunities out there, all the thing I need to do as their president is to skill them so that they are competitive in those labor
But
markets.
Mr. Kinuthia, you know we're already exporting labor.
Skilled or unskilled?
Skilled in academia.
Okay, well, in academia.
Because if it's a discussion we've had here, but I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you a question.
Please.
The German government wanted to build us a technical university. What became of it?
Well, that's a good question. I'll answer immediately and say, in March, actually, towards the end of March, the president and his counterpart in Germany, the president of Germany, came to Kenya. We received him, took him to Kiambu Institute of Science Technology, handed over the site for them to build University of Applied Sciences. This is a technical university in our tongue, but it's called University of Applied Sciences. And they are putting a 5 billion university in Kist, where they will train young people on the skill they use, automotive especially. By the way, the one they have set out is mechatronics and automotive. From Germany's skill to be brought here. And they have started. By the way, the problem was the land.
What have they done in starting?
Yeah, they are finalizing on awarding the contract, and they say they are going to do it themselves. So all the necessary workings of the paper that they need is almost complete, and I should be meeting their envoy to find out more on that. But we handed over the site. We broke.
When do we hope to break ground?
The ground will be broken before the end of the year. Well, that was the case before COVID. We will have to see whether they have revised. But the president came, gave the blessing and left. And by the way, at the same time, because today is your World Youth Skill Day, we had three presidents in the same institution. Our president, the president of Germany, and then the president of World Skill International. There is a UN of a kind called WSI, World Skill International.
What does he do?
These people are the one who mobilize the skills and the skilling institution and knowledges available across the world. What does the UN do? The very role that the UN does is the same role in terms of skills that WSI mobilizes people, resources, mobilizes sports about skilling and policy formulation at the global level. So, by the way, it has only 83 countries on board, and it is recruiting more. Kenya was admitted this year. And we're just finishing the paper. How the benefits to accrue once we join WSI, and I'm saying this because our listeners would find it complex to understand perhaps. I'm saying whatever benefits Kenya accrue being member of United Nations is somehow the same as we would accrue joining WSI, yeah, on what they offer. No, not UN is a complex organization, but WSI is more focused on mobilizing resources around skills and skilling of the young people in the world.
Kenya had very many institutes of technology or advanced technology.
Yes.
What criteria did they use in choosing Kiambu?
First of all, they wanted land, enough land, which was not possible out of town in that size. Those Institute of Advanced Technology, Institute of Technology outside, they had mapped Thika. They wanted Thika, they wanted Kiambu, they wanted Nyanza, that is Kisumu, and they wanted somewhere else. But they settled on Kiambu. But the land was not ready, as it was owned by trustees, and there were issues. Actually, we took a whole year to negotiate land out of trustees to be used for common purpose of this Germany. And that is how they said, well, as you would know, the embassy in Germany here also is run somehow by some of us, except the high positions of first secretaries. And these are the people who advise them. We do not need to go out of town because of movement, many things. Details may not be available.
Many factors to be considered.
Yeah.
It
was largely their choice.
We'll be coming to the end of the conversation soon, and we wouldn't like you to go without us delving into the issue of COVID and education.
Yes.
So, and you say you're among the technical team that advised the CS that the best thing for us to do right now is lose a year
Yes.
of education and training, and just advise that colleges are going to resume later this year.
Yes.
You have seen the backlash, and you're hearing the conversations that are coming from other education experts, from people who also run institutions of education, and from parents. And they're saying, look, this is going to have a huge impact on the development of our children. What do you respond?
I would say,
to that?
first of all the tertiary institutions, that is including Technical Training Institute, polytechnics, and universities, have been allowed to open phasedly. That is phased reopening, as from 1st September.
Yep.
The assumption is that they are adults, and therefore they can maintain the Ministry of Health protocols and keep them. That is sanitize, close your, mask your face, rather your nose and your mouth, and maintain social distance. For adults, it is easy to maintain that. For children, it is not. However, why we say tertiary institutions must open is based on the fact that their curricula is not uniform, as opposed to basic education. From pre-primary to class, or rather to Form 4, we have a uniform curriculum. What do we call it? The
KICD.
No. Calendar. Let's call it school calendar. The school calendar is regulated by the ministry from pre-primary all the way to Form 4. And what affects a school in Mombasa affects a school in Moyale, affects a school in Machakos, affects a school in Kilifi, because it is a uniform calendar. But for a university, every university through their council and senate runs its own program, runs their own calendar, timings, and therefore, if you can face the number of students who can come at a certain time to begin or to complete their year, then that is okay. Bring them as guided by the protocols of health. So, if universities begin their year in July, another university in May, another university in January, another one in October, like my alma mater used to begin in October. If you can put a program that can bring people phasedly, if that is for the year, if that is first year, if that is a admission team, if that is the idea exams, just make something that will say social physical distancing. 2, we'll say we have enough hostels, but for a certain number. So this is the only number that can come back, and therefore that year is only that we are bringing in. So uniform, non-uniform school calendar helped us a lot in determining why we can reopen tertiary institution. For basic education, I want to say the first thing that government are tasked to do all over is the prevention of loss of life and property. And that is why governments exist, to protect property of the people and to protect the lives of the people.
Okay.
For the children, we said, it is a nightmare today to imagine our school infrastructure from pre-primary to Form 4 can maintain social physical distancing. It is not possible. Our classes cannot have 25 students and still maintain not half, even a quarter of our our children cannot come back.
Okay.
Because we have 16 million school-going children.
All those arguments, we've
Yes.
had them. But now the counter argument is
Yes.
education does not have to be physical.
Yes.
We have seen other countries and other jurisdictions where students are still learning, but they're learning from home.
Yes.
There's also the argument that you could have allowed certain classes, standard 8 and the Form 4s,
Form 4s, I've had
to
it.
go to school and continue learning. You're only dealing with about 1.8 million
Yeah,
or
yeah,
close to that
yeah,
number of students. Why wasn't that considered?
By the way, let me first answer and say, when people say other jurisdictions have continued dispensing knowledge virtually, it is not informed on the truth. The truth is, even Kenya continues to offer e-learning, but it cannot be it cannot be what we take pride in as a country, because it is not accessible to not even 5%. It's not accessible even to 3%.
And why is that the case?
Yep.
But Zack,
Because of our infrastructure, our virtual learning infrastructure.
Again, why is that the case?
Over time, and let me say, even in those jurisdictions that we say that are advanced, this one was never anticipated anywhere.
okay, so now that we see things that are like this that are happening,
Yes.
suffice to say that it would be absolutely necessary. I mean, I think, the time is far gone, but it's not too late. In terms of interventions, and we're not saying that in the event that a pandemic would happen, another one would happen. But just because of the natural trajectory of things, in terms of evolution, in terms of innovation and creation, aren't these things that we should be looking at?
Exactly. Now going forward, that is it. And not just in school. Let me tell you, Ndu, today, if you are building a home, we focused more on libraries. If you have a good home, you would say, I want a library in the house. In the coming days, we will not be talking about libraries as much, while we will not destroy them, but we'll be talking of a smart room. A smart room where Eric can call me from home with a full internet, accessibility and cameras in my house. Because now the world has now gone to that direction. As far as governments are concerned,
this is a long conversation. This is a long conversation, Zack, and we'll continue with this. Let's just take a quick break, and also because KTN home audience will be taking a quick short break. Before we do that, let's talk about a KPA portal. This is the information portal called Captain Cargo, KARGO. We're looking at the processes that a vessel undergoes before it's allowed to dock at a port.
Right, so the 14 days list of vessel arrivals are coming up, and so you are then very aware of what your cargo then would look like on ship, right? And so then what would happen after that, according to the portal, is that your agent would lodge what they call an impending arrival notice. So you even get that and you're aware, okay, this stuff is coming in. And then you get the details and they're automatically mapped. The vessel confirms via radio telephone to the vessel and then now to the port that the KPA, what they call the harbour master. The harbour master then is aware that this stuff is actually coming, it's on its way, and the KPA pilot boards the vessel for safe navigation to the allocated berth in the harbour. Now, all of this information, again, you can see how it's all working out, and you can actually track and trace based on what you're seeing here, how that would actually play out. And
it's all right there. Keep it right here. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. Taking a quick break on KTN Home and also a quick break on Spice FM. We continue our conversation with Zack Kinuthia, the CAS for Education.
Had we also not been warned by Minister of Health, that this is a month of peak, this is a month that the pandemic will be at the peak in our region, especially in the tropics, and therefore exposing children at the peak time would be a disastrous risk that you cannot take.
Time? What did they say? How did they explain this? Why this season and not any other?
I will say I will not say why they said it. But I think their matrix and
their modeling and all.
They said it is the peak.
You know why I'm asking this question is because some of this modeling has been proven to be almost null and void. Continuously. You are told this is going to happen, it doesn't. Or when it happens, it doesn't happen at the time it was said. But nonetheless, please continue.
Yeah, I would say, and perhaps looking at what is happening, maybe you could trust them. Looking at how
the numbers are rising
now coming. Especially yesterday, we don't know what today will be. But mass testing obviously was supposed to bring data up. I would say, what we need to do and what we are doing, because I was discussing yesterday with my PS about it, and I was asking him, suppose COVID goes nowhere by January, what are you going to tell the country?
Yep.
And then this was a question that we are brainstorming and said, all we need to do is to ensure that every school in this country, we have about 43,000 schools, has flowing clean water for sanitization. 2, we will have to invest on this garment. We will have to, and
on face masks.
Face mask, and make it a mandatory, garment to wear for children.
Like the uniform.
Like the way uniform was made an issue. We have to make it an issue. And the third one, we will have to ensure that we cancel all the risk areas that can accelerate this disease, including co-curricular activities.
Okay.
So that they are not playing. That would be the hardest thing. No play, no drama, no music, nothing except. Once students go to learning, you leave and go home. 2, those who are boarding, you are under strict measure to ensure that you do not flout all these things that have been kept. But we hope, Eric, as I finish, that this pandemic will either have entered into population so that we just treat it as we treat common cold, or we'll have gotten a vaccine. and medicine, to ensure that this one is not stopping our country, is not stopping our economy, is not stopping our way of living,
Yeah.
it's not disrupting our social life,
Indeed.
and much of it, our economy. Finally, I want to wish all the young people who are doing skilled courses all over the country a very bright and beautiful day today, as we reflect on the place of the skills and the resilience of a young person to do. Get somewhere and do a skill, because you are paying for you young people. Get these colleges, register, we'll pay for you, get a skill. Even one you're plumbing, go and start doing Vibarua. And start somewhere and make your life something out of nothing. If you live in a pit, in a self-pity tent, nobody's going to help you. Rise up.
Thank you very much for
Spice up
Thank
your
you,
life.
editors. We'll invite you again so we can
Thank
have
you.
this conversation at length.
I'll
It's the
be available.
CAS for Education. Good morning. It's now 8 o'clock. Good, have a good day, Zach.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And have a good day.